world for giving us the opportunity to speak on a topic which is just between the thin lines, whether it is privacy, whether it is data, and so on. A quick introduction. My name is Jayant. I overall lead India business for a company called Mobavenue. We as a company help marketeers in their growth journey. That is something which we have been doing since last 7-8 years. Vikram, a quick round of introduction. Everybody knows you, but still, a quick round of introduction.
Good afternoon. My name is Vikram, Jeet, Bhayana, and I head marketing for Bajaj Allianz General. I've been with the group over 16 years, and just for information's sake, we sell general insurance.
Hi, I'm Puneeth, Bekal, currently working as EVP and CMO at HDFC Securities.
This is Ganapathy, Subramaniam. I'm the CMO for LT Foods. You know us popularly by our brand Dawat. So I sell rice for a living.
I'm Akash, Batra. I work for a company called HP right next door.
Marketeers often say that consumer is the king. So when it comes to data, how much it actually comes true? So I would like to have this question across everybody. Like Vikram, if you can share your thoughts on that.
A lot of times it's said that customer is king, which is fair, but I think more than just being the king, they're also the owner of their own data. Particularly at the category that I represent, we sell insurance, and unlike most companies, we don't sell a tangible product, we sell a promise. So we say that when something happens to you, we will be right there. And in that point in time, if we make sure that we've truly respected their identity, who they are, what they do on the web, when they come, when they go, and what they are doing, I think it works. I'll give you a light example. Let's say if somebody went to a garage to get his or her car fixed, we get all that information, right? But let's say if they go again with another accident, and we send a communication saying कि last time आपने ये वाला तोड़ा था, इस बार ये वाला तोड़ दिया है, it could really not go very well with them. So I think it's very important, even though you know it, but you don't use it, and you let them know that it's as good as a fresh case that's coming to us, so that they don't feel invaded in any manner. So I think it's very, very critical. I would agree.
So it's a diverse panel across different categories. So Puneeth, what are your thoughts on that? You come from a securities background. So any particular thing in mind?
Yeah, I have a point of view on this one. I don't think consumers know what they want. And in the world of algorithm, you will be surprised when consumers pick up or consume things which was not expected or that specific cohort. So data helps us to analyze and also give relevant propositions to consumers which they never thought that it would be valuable to them. So I feel that in the world of data and inciting and also predictive modeling today, it has become very rich both for the consumers as well as for brands to engage with relevant insights.
I think partially right. The consumer is the king, but then the consumer needs us many a times to voice what they really think, because many a times there's also a facade which they have to live. So there is pop culture which they are living. There is a social economic angle to it. So if I were to increase the price of a kg of rice by $15, the consumer is not going to come and tell me कि ये महंगा हो गया. The consumer will really sweetly switch into something else. So it's not about just knowing it, but it's also about predicting and also making the consumer comfortable. I think information in the direction or to the end of making the consumer comfortable with an informed decision variable is important for us. And in doing so, if you know that the consumer has not given you the right answer, the duty or the responsibility lies on our shoulders to infer it properly. Because most of the times when the consumer is not interested in your product, they will give you answers like, I don't need it, I don't have enough information about it. We've all seen that don't know, can't say in so many researchers of ours. So can't really blame the consumer for not voicing what we want them to voice. Our job to kind of dig deeper and be the right expression of what the consumer wants. So I think that's the sweet spot where we should.
Akash, what about you? Because you come from a background of laptop as a category, where if a person buys a laptop and then the cycle is like next 2-3 years he's done and dusted. So how do you see personalization and data coming into the picture for the category where you work for?
Yeah, I think in my mind, when I started my career, I used to work for retail business, and one thing Sam Walton said, which is what the part of your first question was, that customers always right, and rule number 2 is if you disagree, then go back to the rule number 1 again, right? So in my mind, the customer is always right continues to be an adage, at least that I follow, right? I think the other point which is important for us to say is, in my mind, the consumer knows what they're doing, right? And I think the important point there is, what's the balance or what's the trust equation that you're actually building with the consumer? What are they giving you and what are you giving them in return, right? I mean, everyone knows if you want to use Google Maps, you have to give your GPS data. You can't basically get to where you want to get to if you don't get your data. I think the important point for us as marketers, and one of my principles is that in the end, as brands, the most integral part of what we do is to build trust with consumers, right? I mean, they will choose my brand or any other brand if they believe that they trust this brand. And just a data point, about 82% of consumers feel that they trust those companies more, which are actually more respectable with their data, right? So I think it's absolutely integral. Right? But what is also absolutely critical is that you use that data with a lot of respect, right? And on that trust equation that I was saying, Shubhanshu was talking about AI. I've seen so many people uploading their, I don't know, tax returns on Perplexity or on ChatGPT, saying that I'm going to get information out of it. They're okay with sharing their own data and their own information if they believe that the returns that they're going to get is going to be actually larger than the risk of losing that data, right? So I think as brands, as marketers, as business people, it's extremely critical for us to keep in mind that the equation of what I get versus what I give is extremely balanced and sensitive. And I think for us as well, we sell our products on channels where we have access to consumer data, in some cases where we don't. And our intent largely is to make sure that we leverage that data for a purpose where the consumer finds value to it, right? He should be surprised, right? And I think he shouldn't necessarily feel that, why is that that I'm actually spending money on X or visiting these websites or doing this. So he has to feel that he's a lot more in control. And I think it'll be imperative for us in the AI world to actually be a lot more sensitive about this, because it's just going to get worse, right? One thing that I always say is, when topics like these, data privacy is a discussion that we've been having since digital started becoming really big, right? And it's imperative for us to stay kind of up to date on this, because this will move faster than anything else.
So, how you guys define personalization, which can bring delight to customers, or maybe getting more into their personal space? How do you define that? How do you keep the balance in place where you say that this is something which I should do, which will wow the customer, or this is something which I should not do because there is something going more out of hand? So how do you define the balance between it? Maybe Puneeth sir, if you can share your thoughts first.
Yeah, so there was this nice quote which I read in one of the marketing journals, which said personalization is like a seasoning. A pinch of it is delight, a more of it is intrusive, right? And it's especially from the sector where I come in, which is securities. If you look at it, what's happening in the investment world today is that everyone wants to invest, and it's become a dinner table conversation. But in that conversation, the first question everyone asks is, "Kahan pe invest karu?" And you rely on your uncle, your friend, your panwala, your bartender to give you information where to invest. It's a free conversation for everyone. Now, the reason I'm saying this is to how we personalize and why it is a value for the consumer. We have a full stack research team at the back end. And these are one of the best researchers, not only in India, but in APAC, who do daily analysis of more than 200 stocks, mutual funds, and you name it, strategies and everything else. And we provide research recommendations on a week-to-week, on a daily basis to customers. Yeah. Now, again, personalization is a cut from there. For example, instead of personalizing identities, if you personalize intent, that is when the consumer feels value. For example, if I'm a new customer or as a new investor, I don't want to sell him or send him a message about futures and options because it is not of any value to him. I might send him, okay, because of this, you are in this age, possibly these are the mutual funds you should start with. Once he buys into a mutual fund and we say, you know what, hey, you are now confident about investing, why don't you look at baskets which is curated by a research team? Once he's there, then you move on to the next stage of equity and so on and so forth. So how do you handle and guide the investor or the consumer to invest responsibly through a personalized communication for specific cohorts and specific individuals is where the value comes in. So I feel also, I think in the marketing world, the personalization has become a misnomer. It's, the more you think of personalization, in my view, it's not about micro targeting. It's more about how you engage with the customer in a personalized way, which adds value to them.
For me, I'll tell you, there are dimensions to the products and the categories I work with in terms of personalization. For example, it starts very simply by wanting to know what the person is going to cook tonight or in the next week. Now, I can be suggestive in a certain manner, but I can't really be intrusive enough to say, "Aaj raat ko aapko dal chawal khana." I can't be telling them. But if you want to make dal chawal, can I facilitate you? Yes. Can I tell you that there are 350 types of biryanis available in the country? And today, if you choose to make the Malabar biryani and you don't know how to make one, I am there to help you make one. That's where the buck stops. Where the individual, the answer to personalization versus scale or versus generalization is an answer which the consumer should be heard from, not brands. We would love to know. I would love to know कितना चावल बचा है आपके घर में, so that I can hammer you with a piece of communication before you run out of it. I would love to know कौन से brand का क्या खरीदा है आपने, so that I can target you with that intent. But is that something which will truly add value? Like Meet said, will it truly add value to the consumer's decision making? Will we be in a better relationship with the consumer with that piece of information? We also need to differentiate today that there is this whole greed for information collection versus need for it. At least I started marketing at point in time where information was scarce. And there was a whole desire to get more information. अच्छा ये पता चल जाए कि ये consumer cohort कितना size का है और कैसे target कर सकते हैं. That was really, the end of it. Today I think we've moved beyond. We want frequency, we want आज सुबह क्या हुआ, we want recency, we want everything. So I think we need to try and make a decision of that. And very soon, today the Indian consumer is letting you be. At least in India, I must warn this, call this out actually and warn, because today the Indian consumer somewhere is on the spectrum of letting you live with his data. That's not going to be the case. In fact, they will stop you from making any sort of serious changes on brand because they are stakeholders to the brand's journey. And very soon we will need to factor. The way social media is going, very soon we will need to factor their requirements coming from the brand which you own, so-called. Okay? So I think it's important that we proactively live to that scale rather than be pushed to a corner and say, what have you done with that? Banking data related to finance, the moment there is a slip up on that, it makes headline news. It doesn't make headline news for FMCG. क्या हो जाएगा, किसको पता चल जाएगा मैं कौन सा चावल खाता हूँ, क्या पता लग जाएगा if I wear a particular brand or not. That's the nature of it today. But imagine if a consumer was to take a stroll in a park and because proximity to a particular showroom of clothing or a brand of cars was next to him and they started bombarding that individual, you think the consumer is going to keep quiet? That is effectively intrusion. So we need to be prepared and we need to factor in what the consumer is expecting of us as we speak. So I think that's an important variable in the discussion. Rather than it's just not about numeric approximations. We should stay away from that and we should prepare for the world
Generation. See, at a very fundamental level, if you remember, even 15, 20 years back, the principle of segmentation, identifying the right customer, building the right proposition for them, making sure you engage with them at the place where they're most receptive to, and then eventually drive behavior change or choose my product. That's what the principle was. The difference now is that that segment can go down to n is equal to 1. I think, and it's not something which I'm saying for the first time. 15 years back, people said the future is going to be about hyper-personalization. We're in that future right now, right? Now the point really is that one, from a customer journey, consumer journey, or brand's journey, should anything should change? Absolutely not. But what's essential is that the challenges and risks that come into in managing a segment of one. Earlier, you could go and speak to a large audience with a message which was relatively broad, relatively broad based on the message you want to deliver. Now you just have the opportunity of doing it. And the question that I always ask is, why won't you use that opportunity? Yes, the risks, which are extremely critical for us to keep in mind when we're doing that, right? I have a few principles that I follow. The principle number one is unsurprising. The customer should not feel, why is that you know this about me, right? And I'm sure all of you guys have heard of that story, and it's actually my favorite because I used to work with this company a long time back. It's with Target, right? And just to tell you, if you haven't, for the younger folks here, apparently Target sent out an email to one specific customer of theirs, specifically targeting pregnancy-related products, right? And obviously the dad didn't know the girl was pregnant, and obviously they made a big deal. Obviously Target found that wasn't a surprise that they should be delivering to a customer. So principle number one is be unsurprising, right? The second point, and this is what Ganapathy actually said, is to make sure that we're purposeful, right? There is always this tendency in saying कि collect कर लेते data, बाद में सोच लेंगे क्या होगा, right? But we as brands and business have to be very purposeful in saying that if I am collecting any data about the customer, I need to know what am I going to do about it, right? And that is actually a principle number one to start with. And the third one is we have to be respectful for customers, right? I mean, in the end, this is their data. And as Ganapathy said, I still believe people have started moving into that direction where they're becoming a lot more responsible about that data. I'm very paranoid. It might be because I'm in the industry, right? By the way, my email ID is available on Google search AI. And it's like, damn, I mean, I'm going to get more emails now, right? And now that data is actually publicly available. So the tools today will start making data privacy tougher. Therefore, it's even more important for us to give control back to the consumer and saying, you decide what happens, right? So I think net, hyper-personalization is not new. Marketing fundamentals remain the same. We have to be very careful about the risks and challenges that we operate in.
Sorry guys, I think my examples are going to revolve a lot around insurance because that's what I've done all my life. We've taken personalization to a very different level, given it to the consumer. So we've got a feature called MOTS, which is called Motor on the Spot. So if you're driving your car and if you hit someone else's car, you just have to step out, click pictures of the damage, upload. We've got a lot of data with us. We've been doing this for the last 24, 25 years. We've got a lot of claims data. We assimilate it and tell you that in the next 10 minutes, we tell you that your damage is worth, let's say, 10,000 rupees. And do you want the money in your account? Yes or no? Now the customer hits yes. You get the money in the next 5 minutes. 15 minutes flat, the money is in your account. You go to a garage, you tell them, गाड़ी ठोकी ठीक कर दो. They'll ask you insurance है नहीं है. If you say no, that's okay. Let's say आपकी गाड़ी ठीक हो गई 8,000 रुपए में. 2,000 are for you to keep. So because by virtue of my product, which is a claim, we realize that if you can personalize it to a level where I let you decide what you want to do, how you want to claim, you can go to a garage and say, I'm insured, please mend it, they will do it. But we're also giving you the luxury of identifying that, oh, I can click it, send it, oh, this is the amount, I keep the rest, that's fine with us. We're giving the end consumer the power to actually file for the claim. So there is no data breach. He's not sending me his pictures, damaged part photos that my tool is using to assess and give them back. What we don't do in personalization is if somebody is going through a claim, we don't send them mailers saying that, oh, buy a health insurance or buy a motor insurance, because that will look opportunistic, right? Because I have their data, I have it all with me. We've got filters that say XYZ is going through a claim. Till the time it's not settled, no marketing mailers or communication to go. So, because again, when my claim gets activated, या गाड़ी ठुकी है, या hospitalized हो, या either your dog is unwell or cyber attack हुआ है. So none of this is a happy situation to be in, right? And so we make sure that we are extremely sensitive. When a claim is triggered, we make sure none of that happens. So that's the kind of balance we're trying to build in both plus and minus.
I think excellent examples across category. Now, since it is a season of sales, festivals, lot of campaigns across commerce, quick commerce, influencers have shaped in. So any particular campaign from your own brand or maybe your past organization where you guys have used personalization which you still remember in your own experience? If you can share that, maybe Ganapathy sir, if you can share that first, because you have been a veteran.
So, last year we celebrate a marquee property called the Dawat World Biryani. In that, we actually built a campaign where it was an AI-driven campaign where you could be part of the creative, you could be the protagonist in the creative, and it was oriented towards cooking great biryanis to the family. So you could be there as the protagonist, and you could have Chef Sanjeev Kapoor come and evaluate you online, and that's how it was. And that got tremendous amount of interest because for the first time probably every person who was cooking and was never recognized and most of the times assumed to just do their job somewhere in the kitchen and continue to non-exist as conversation had a role in conversation. We actually got back a lot of men who came back to say we cook biryani, but this was primarily a woman who was there, and there were some restrictions, till last year on how many characters you could play and what all could happen on the creative. So we only had women doing it. Now, excuse me for we didn't intend it as any gender bias, but that happened. So we had a lot of queries from men saying, "Why did you do it? We also cook." And a lot of men we realized were serious about cooking biryanis. I don't know, at least they claim. So coming back to the fact that yes, personalization and you had to do a whole lot of list of consent from people because they had to share their pictures, they had to share their voice, they had to share their names and all of that. But if did right or if done right and if done for a purpose which probably could be fun, probably is not intrusive, probably is not going to be forcing you in a further restrictive purchase choice, was something which people really love. We got what, if I remember my numbers right, we got about 20,000 odd participation in a span of a week. Okay, and this is all first-party data coming for an FMCG product. It was unheard of in that small scale of time. So from that lens, I realized that if done right, customization, personalization to that extent works really well. And the fact that you are able to engage with audience if done right, there is no substitute for it. We've used that information. How did we use that information? For people who are thinking, we collected that, we used it to make mirror audiences of individuals and data. So it was not that we were targeting you, we got your name, so 12 months on end we said yaar ye पिछले महीने किया था, पिछले महीने खरीदा था, इस महीने क्या कर रहे हो? We didn't do that, but we used that database to kind of populate a stronger mirror audience base and target at length and at scale. So that's how I can give you an example of how personalization works for us.
What about you, Akash?
Let me take two examples, quick ones. One of the categories that we operate in is gaming, right? We're the biggest gaming brand in the country. And one of the things that we realized, again, basis data analysis, was that typically when a gamer refreshes their PC, they refresh all the accessories as well. But when we went deeper, we realized that people weren't buying enough accessories from us. Accessories for gamers will be obviously better keyboards, better mouse, which are much more responsive, headsets, microphones, and so on and so forth. Right? And again, I think the personalization, the way it was done, was quite interesting. I mean, obviously, it makes sense intuitively what we would have done. Every time somebody bought this thing, there was a full journey designed for the person to identify if you've bought this particular laptop, here are the right accessories for you to use. And actually, that whole engagement went for about 90 days. Right? And that engagement started delivering significant incremental sales for us. Forget that. I think the part which was in my mind the most interesting was that the gamers felt that we were actually helping them choose the right product. Right? They didn't necessarily see this as an intrusion or targeting and so on and so forth. Right? So that's one example. The second one, which is more mass scale. If you haven't seen our latest AIPC campaign, we launched it with Khurana brothers, the Ayushman Khurana, Parshvati Khurana. As part of that, one of the activations that we're doing is where we're engaging with college kids to come and tell us their ideas that they believe in their own passion points, which should deserve attention. Every time a student submits, we already have about some 45,000 entries. There are a set of videos, again AI created with Ayushman Khurana, which actually go to the participant, right? Saying that great entry. Here are the 5 things I think you should be doing to improve your entry. Add these things, add that thing, and the system does it. System identifies which passion point, identifies where are they finding gaps in the entry, and it actually creates a video with Ayushman and sends it out, right? And again, for us, this wasn't necessarily a way to get more from the consumers, but just the amount of engagement, shares that we're getting with the fact that Ayushman's talking to us. Again, this is not the first time a brand is doing this, but in this context, it started actually making a lot more sense because Ayushman Khurana is supporting you in your journey of becoming successful. Those are a couple of examples from my business.
Puneeth sir.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, for us, personalization is not based on the identity or the profile of the consumer, but predominantly on the intent of the consumer. Now, most of the time, the consumer doesn't know his or her intent, and that's where we come in as to how we can provide guidance for the consumer to, to pick up something which the consumer actually needs at that particular point. Basically, relevancy is what I'm coming back to. I'll just have a little divergent point of view on collection of data and how we use data in today's ecosystem. Now, like Sir said, why do you need frequency of a consumer, or why do you need as to what time, at least in our ecosystem, by when does he open the app? On the app, which are the UX UI which he engages with? Now, nowhere in the marketing ecosystem do we know, even from a cohorting perspective, as to why it is happening and how we don't use it. All this data flows into a modeling exercise, be it a propensity model, an adaptive model, or whatever that might be, which basically model gives you a output, which, believe me, is very relevant. I'll give you my own personal example. Okay, I bought a product A, and in my head, I thought of product Z. Now, why I'm saying Z, it is not like bread and cheese, what Amazon does. If people who bought bread also bought cheese, it's not that simple. Okay? I bought product A, and in my head, it was product Z that I wanted to buy. Now, there was no way that anyone could connect an A to Z. And when immediately on my Instagram reel, I saw that Z popped out. And this was the time when I was doing data analytics at IIM. And I reached out to my professor. I said, boss, this is like crazy. How did they know? Because I've not written on WhatsApp. I didn't have a conversation because the microphone can pick it up. It's almost like magic. Then he said, no, dude, you're not special. There are millions of people around the world in your cohort, in your age group, think exactly like that. So that's what I'm saying. So how data brings relevancy to the consumer, and you are basically building onto the intent, is what personalization is for us. So we do it on a day-in-day basis, so it's not necessarily as festive, but
I just want to add to what Preet just said. I'll recommend everyone, I don't know if the feature still exists, I think it exists. Go on Facebook, there's a specific section on privacy settings, which actually tells you what Facebook knows about you. You'll be surprised. They know you really well. And again, this is just to add to what Puneeth was saying.
Okay, we've done a couple of things in our current organization, Bajaj Allianz, where so the top 3 concerns that most consumers have is, and there could be any company insurance policy holder, I don't know what my policy entails, or I didn't know that it covers this, my policy duration, anything and everything. Most people buy insurance, especially motor, because it's mandated by law, le liya because kal ko koi police pakde to challan na kate, and health because post-code people feel ye hona chahiye, but they're still not reading their policies or what it includes, what it doesn't include. We've started a tool, we have a tool on our app, on our website called Insurance Samcho, and it's for all consumers. It's not just Bajaj consumers, and we don't take any of the data that's on the website, where you can upload your policy and speak with the bot to understand what it covers, what it doesn't. It'll teach you about your policy in the simplest manner possible, so that you know tomorrow, if God forbid you have to action that product, you know what it covers, what it doesn't cover. This came out because a lot of people would come to us and say कि अच्छा claim के वक्त हमें claim नहीं मिला, but it's in the policy document. Sadly, no one's reading it. Also because they feel it's a very big document, but when you regulate it, you have to have all the terms and conditions. It is what it is. But we tried this tool and it's really helped us. We've had a lot of people come to us and upload policies just to see what it covers, what it doesn't cover. The second one is for my second set of customers, which is my channel partners. Insurance today still in a big way sold by insurance agents and not online. A big part is that. And I come from a very traditional organization which sells insurance. My MD is, so we don't have a brand face. We don't have celebrities representing us. We're very clear. Our employees will have to be the face. If they can't talk to the end consumer, which is our agent, nobody can, because we know our product well and they know the product well. You'll be surprised to know, and I'll have to tell you the story before I tell you what we did. My MD's photo is in the temples of so many agents because he's built them. They were from the lift wala to now driving 5-6 Mercedes in their house. Insurance agents have slogged their way up and they've made a lot of money, and the very few people in the nation stage built them. So we've got close to 1 lakh agents. I would say 60% were made by my MD. So they look up to him in a bigger way that they would look up to a celebrity. So we used the whole AI bit where we created his videos, where we used him as the face to celebrate their success, birthdays, anniversaries. And I'm not exaggerating. I can see the reaction on your faces. It was an instant hit. The stickiness of agents, more agents came in because they wanted a message from him. He is a chalta firta celebrity in the insurance realm. And we realized that when we sent it, people went mad. We got calls from their wives, mothers, kids sent us letters saying that we are absolutely elated that he wished us. And you really have to see it to believe it. It was mind-boggling. But we took it as an example. We tried it and it worked wonders for us. So.
You want to add?
Yeah, I just add to, and there was an interesting, again going back to the point of, how do you deliver authenticity using AI, right? I'll go back to my earlier point of, we use our research team to recommend stocks, mutual funds to relevant set of consumers. Now this research team are busy on their day in, day out basis. And there is a deluge of information online, specifically with influencers, and everyone thinking that they're experts in their own right. So what we thought is that, we can't get our researchers to do a reel and shoot every day. So we created AI avatars of these researchers. So what do? Is they provide research on, let's say, pick of the week or daily pick today. There's a report which comes in. We convert this report into a stackable format, which is an infographic using an AI tool. We create it's a nice AI script version which goes to him. He signs, okay, this is great. And the AI tool converts his AI avatar into a reel in just about 30 minutes, which is again been sent to relevant customers on the app itself. So this is how we are using personalization, using a specific +1 in the category.
Awesome. I had few more questions, but I think majority of the questions have been answered. But just a last question, maybe 30 seconds on it. Now I am like rotating the table from a marketer to a consumer. How do you personally draw a line as a consumer between privacy settings? Whenever you open an Instagram, there's a new trend, there's a nano banana trend, there is a sari trend, there are so many trends which keep on happening every day. As a user, I'm only talking as a user, how do you draw a line between privacy and things which can be shared to a particular thing? Just 30 seconds on it before we open the house for questions. Yes, Vikram, starting with you.
Because I sell insurance, I want more and more people to accept the fact that we can send as many personalized data to you as possible. As a consumer myself, by virtue of the fact that I do that, and I'm not saying it because I'm sitting here, I have to sound very preachy, I'm absolutely okay with the fact, I know, like Sir said, our majority data is out there, mobile number is out there, email ID is out there, what we click, what we don't click, I've made peace with that, in all honesty, that I know it's out there, and if it's being used to sell products to me, services to me, or tell me things that I don't even want at this point in time, I've made peace with it because I expect my end consumer to make peace with it. So I can't be all preachy that wo kar le aur main na karu. I think I've made peace with the fact. So I could get a laptop ad, even if I'm using a tablet, I'll be more than happy. Naya laptop aaya, samajh lete hai kya hai, but Will I buy it? That will be my choice. But if I'm subjected to it, I have no issue with that by virtue of what I do for a living. I think most people that I've met say this, that they've made peace with it. So if that's 30 seconds for you guys.
Yeah, so I would put this way. I think my Instagram reels are my best friends because it throws the right post at me at all times for two reasons. Okay, one is because my microphone is on and it's kept on for a purpose. Second is I curate my post. So yeah, I make it sure that if there's a post which is not relevant to me, I dislike or whatever report or whatever that their options are. I think it's also how each one of us use these algorithms to your own benefit. Initially it's a hard work, but I think over a period of time it learns on its own.
Ganapathy sir.
See, I think we can't be preachy like Vikram said. We can't really, stay away from this, ecosystem which we fuel ourselves. And honestly speaking, I have not subscribed to any world sort of spaces. My YouTube is very much, I have no premium subscriptions on YouTube. I would love to hear all marketers out there. And I would go the extra mile by saying, let me be surprised by what you're doing, trying to do, and tell me things which probably I didn't expect you to know about. But that's good. And what I stop it at is whatever my social, my public profile is. I am not out there sharing willfully information about what I do as an individual, as a person, as a personal ecosystem. Okay, as a marketer, as a person who's handling a set of brands, as a professional, and as as a person part of the society, good enough to give you free access to whatever I do. Okay, and I think please go ahead, surprise me with what you have for me. If you've deciphered me better than what I've done for myself, I'm happy to be indulgent. But that's where the buck stops.
All right. Personally, I'm very paranoid about my personal data. I mean, which is my phone number, my email, my photographs.
I think very
my kids,
different from the other three.
No, so I'm going to come to that. The so to say the downside of being in the profession that I have, I also want everything that these guys said. But personal data, and my recommendation always to everyone is be very paranoid. I'm very paranoid about giving my phone numbers to these. So you want a burger? Can you give me your phone number? No, I'm not going to give it to you, right? So I'm very careful about those. Yes, algorithms where I know at best they're looking at my behavior. I'm generally okay with that. In some cases, yes, you give some of those information as well if you believe. For example, for some of the brands that do a really good job with email marketing, I want to subscribe to them because as a marketer in me, I want to see how they're doing it, really well. Right? That's how I see it.
I think I had a great discussion. I hope the audience liked it as well. Now the house is open for questions. If anybody has any question related to anything, please let us know. Any questions? Himanshu has a question. I know him personally because we have worked together in a previous organization.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was lovely to have such a great panel. In the interest of time, yes, have a great evening, everyone.